controversy going on at your last Armwars event.
Mhm.
I think it went down about 6 months ago, but you just recently aired it, and it was with John Thompson. Everybody
Yep.
knows him as Uncle John, and
Mhm.
Kirsten Morrison. Is that his name?
Kieran Morrison. So Kieran
Kieran.
Morrison, really great puller from Scotland. Lovely, lovely dude, up and comer. Cut his teeth over the last sort of 8 to 10 years. Really developed into a really versatile, solid puller and a very grounded young man. Great dude.
Well, I just want to get into the little controversy. We know that there was some controversy with Uncle John, kind of, they're saying tried breaking his arm and all that. So I just want to get clarification of what went down that day since you were there. This was your event and all. Can you just
Mhm.
give us a little background story?
Yeah, I think the main sort of just to take the point you were saying a moment ago. I think the big thing that people are passionate about is that they believe that John Thompson tried to break the arm of Kieran Morrison. Now, let's just clarify a few things here. The move that John Thompson did, in my opinion, is a dick move. There's no place for that in the sport of arm wrestling. It's not something, for example, in my career that I've ever even thought about doing. But do I think that John was trying to break Kieran's arm? No, not at all. I don't think Kieran Morrison thinks that John was trying to break Kieran Morrison's arm. And I'm sure that he wasn't. Was he trying to do a dick move foul? Absolutely. There's no, I wanted to, a lot of people have said, oh, you're saying he didn't mean it? No, he meant it. Of course, he definitely meant it. But he didn't sort of, the demeanor of the match, the whole way that the match was conducted, was not in an aggressive bloodline match. There was no bad blood there at all between those lads. They were both super passionate to win. They were both giving it everything they could. The boundaries of the match had been very clearly defined. Both guys had a really clear lane to the other one. So both men knew exactly where their strengths and weaknesses were. And it was really evident. When the match went into the strap, Kieran was the stronger, more versatile arm wrestler. When the match was outside of the strap, the big dominant hand of John was a difference maker, and that's where he'd been doing well. So Kieran, because the Armwars rules are that there's no slip in a losing position, all slips go into the strap, Kieran decided he was going to get to the strap. No problem. He did it successfully on one occasion, and he got a great win. And at that time, the match was really clear. Now, John Thompson is not the best arm wrestler in the world. Okay, he's a good arm wrestler, pretty solid puller, got a good solid game, but he's not a killer. He's not Irakli. John wants to be an entertaining arm wrestler. He's trying his very best to help the sport of arm wrestling grow and to be entertaining, controversial, give an edge, give that. He wants to be. You can clearly see he's got learnings from people like Conor McGregor, like the bigger, more entertaining characters, and that is something that he started to shape how he was going to be. That was his thing. And so his Uncle John character, John had talked about when he came into the promotion. I've got me, and he said, and I'm quite insecure actually. I'm not really an outspoken guy. I'm actually quite shy. I'm actually quite reclusive. Uncle John is like this projection of me, where when I'm within this character, I'm sort of, I can do more, and I can be outspoken, and I can do these things. And you actually see evidence of that, But the nervousness and the amount of adrenaline that goes through John, it's actually worked against him a couple of times in Armwars. His first appearance, he had one of the most significant and very clear adrenaline dumps I've ever seen an arm wrestler suffer. Fair enough, it was the guy's first appearance in front of a crowd of literally thousands in a big show. And halfway through that match, he flipped out somewhere. He was pissing with sweat, white as a sheet. His lips and gums went white. It was quite weird. I thought, are you all right, mate? I had to actually go over to him and say, John, are you okay? And he looked at me, he was not there. And I said, mate, you're having a massive adrenaline dump right now. He was shaking, the whole guy. I was a little worried for him, actually, at the time. And I had to sort of like, just take a moment, let me, just give yourself a second. And he clicked back in and he was okay. He did a similar thing that day in Armwars. He came out of the blocks and tried a little too hard, in my opinion, to be entertaining. Bless him for that. Really, he was trying to put on a show, but he went too hard. I'm trying to think of the way that I can tell people this, and just for them to understand, I think, where John was at. And obviously, John will know better because John's John, but he tried to articulate it in the show, in the post-match interviews, which is obviously a big part of the show itself. He has this character, Uncle John, and the character is a bit of a heel, but he's a tongue-in-cheek heel. I mean, you see evidence of it in the show. So he's getting in Kieran's face and mouthing off and trying to throw Kieran and trying to piss him off and trying to get him out of his game. But there's no malice in it. It's more, I'm just going to piss him off. I'm going to upset him, and then I'm going to beat him in an arm wrestling match, and then we're buddies again. And he's trying to do that. You may love that, or you may hate that and think he's a dick. And that is fine. That's your choice. And I don't know, you tell me. Do you like it or not? I don't know. So John's doing that. Evidenced by the fact that in one round, somebody shouted, one of Kieran's guys, one of the UK guys, I think it was James Wall shouted, "It's your day, Kieran." And John spins round. He's not present in the match. He spins round on this guy and goes, "Every goddamn day's my day." And then he's looking at Maynard Dentjes, who kicked his ass the day before. And he goes, "Except yesterday," because he got murdered. And he said, where is Maynard? And then he's like, "You, Maynard." And it's like, I even pissed myself laughing. It was funny. The guy's taking the piss. Then he gets hammered in that round. The next round is the round. Kieran is looking for the strap, so he flies back hard. In some weird, inexplicable, what the moment, John does a Herman Stevens on his ass and just ran after him. But he doesn't run after him within the rules. He picks his friggin'. Let's just make one distinction here, okay? Everybody's like, "Oh, God, he's going to break his arm." The reality of the situation, he was not going to break his arm. And why he wasn't? Because there was all connection in the hand. He had all of his fingers like this. Had he had a really solid grip, let's say the guys had been strapped together. They'd been in a strap. That would have been a seriously horrific, dodgy move. Don't get me wrong. This is a dick move. There's no place in the sport. I thought, what the is that? It's a dick move. You don't do that. It's just sort of you wouldn't do that. But Kieran's running so hard and so quick. If you watch that back, you will actually see John has to even accelerate his movement to keep up with Kieran because Kieran's going so quick. But Kieran's falling backwards and John ends up going almost over the table to get his ass. He's so committed. But there's no power in it. It's like a wishy-washy piss-pot effort. There's no venom. There's no real intent. It's I'm going to be a dick. And immediately he turns around and shouts to Kieran, "You're going to run, I'm going to follow you." But Kieran was momentarily pissed off, like, "Whoa, that was actually quite a dick move." And it was one of those things where it was a split second, but you were aware of it. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, wait a minute. That wasn't, we've had this heated, but it's all within the rules thing. And then all of a sudden, John does this thing that's slightly different. And Kieran just looked at John, and John says that to him, "I'm going to chase you." And Kieran just looked at him like, what the fuck? And they had this little spark. And I think it was Mick Holland, one of our referees, just says, "Whoa, like what, cut that out."
I got to ask you, Neil, do you have any rules for that? Do you have any kind of like disqualification? Do you have anything set up with Armwars before this?
No, there's no well, I should say now as we speak tonight, yes, we do. But at the time, no. And that's my fault. That's my failing.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
but
it is and it isn't.
the thing I gotta say, brother, just to defend you on that, me also being an organizer and promoter and all, this is something I didn't even think of. This is bringing light to a topic that we all, as organizers and promoters, gotta kind of address this. If this happens from moving on, how are we gonna handle this? So that's why I'm interested to see, how did Armwars adapt now? We've changed the rules now so that if this happens again.
So to give you a little bit of background on that, one of the funniest things of this is we got the stuff with Pradeep Singh and so on, and all that's kicked off. Now, Pradeep is, somebody's trying to ring me there. I'm just going to cancel that, guys. Hopefully that's not cocking up the show. But yeah,
hold on. I don't see your picture. There you go. You're back. Cool.
Yeah, I'm going to try and just a second. One moment, guys. Just bear with me. Guys, can you just tell whether that is to stop calling? I'm on a live show. It's my son's friends calling.
Okay.
So Pradeep and some of the fans of Pradeep had seen the reaction in the comments. So just to make something really clear, and then I want to go back to what I was saying a minute ago, okay? Because it's really critical that we cap that off where I was. So if you don't mind, Paul, can you just go back and pick up that from where I was before I sort of lose my track?
Yes.
So Kieran and John have this little moment. You can see it, but it was really insignificant in terms of the match in some ways to those guys. It hadn't hurt Kieran. I mean, people are saying, oh, he was rubbing his arm like that. And if you actually watch, Kieran was rubbing his arm like that after every frigging round. He was doing that beforehand as well. Not as significant, and he did have a little moment of, you actually went for me there, you mother, And so did the rest of us, just like this. Oh, that was a bit weird. And John also had that. When Kieran looked back at him, you could see John click into this, oh, okay, that was a dick move. And they had this little, let's look at each other. Yeah. And John changed his demeanor. And when you question John after the fact, John was embarrassed, ashamed, acknowledged that he was trying too hard, that he'd gone towards the, I'm going to be this dick character to create controversy in the show. But that was a dick move. I shouldn't have done that. I wish I didn't do that, but it's too late then. You can't take it back. He did it. So all these guys saying, oh, you don't believe it was intentional? Of course it was. How can it not be intentional? It's in the show. This is the funny thing. We made the film. So anybody saying just let me get rid of that call again. Anybody saying we did, we're trying to, people have said stupid stuff like, oh, you're trying to sweep it under the rug. What a ridiculous comment that is. We made the fucking film.
You wouldn't have put it on there if you didn't want people to see it.
If we didn't want people to see, not only did we make the film, we literally storybooked the film. So guys like Greek saying, if I hadn't raised this, no, mate, if anybody should be, the guy who raised it, he's called James Statham, and he storybooked and made the film. Fact. If anybody else is really responsible for it, it's John Thompson and it's Kieran Morrison, because it's their match and it's not WWE. It's not dramatized. That happened for real. That fleeting moment happened for real. You may love it, you may hate it, or anything in between, but it really happened. And that little exchange happened. You could see them sort of connect on it. John immediately changed his whole demeanor. Not just, his whole demeanor. For the rest of the match, John, as you'd seen him prior to that, wasn't really there. If you go check it out, and you'll see there's a change goes on. Now, only after the fact did it become evident what that was. Only after the fact did we get a feel for what that was, When that happened, John still had to remain committed to trying to pin Kieran, who had great back pressure and was rising up and looking to peel his way out into the strap. And John changed the angle of his move The very next pull, the very next start, Jon drove at him again. Kieran went back. So first of all, just to take a step back for clarity, you asked about the rules. So to tie the two together, the basis of Armwars rules is, okay, and this is really critical, the basis, the foundation of Armwars rules is the World Arm Wrestling Federation. Under the World Arm Wrestling Federation and Armwars, as it stood at the time that match took place, if you do that, it is a foul. Not a running foul. Forget running foul. There's no running foul there. It's a straight foul. Okay? Now, it is an unusual one because to me and to Kieran and to Jon and to the referees, they thought, okay, that was a little bit over and above what we would normally see. That was unsportsmanlike, petulant, spiteful, like, dick move. That's not what you want to see. Jon acknowledged that. Nevertheless, you can only conduct the match under the rule set that exists. So if you watch that back, and I'll tell you what I will do. Unfortunately, James is incapacitated this week. He's had issue with his family after we got back from Dubai. He's not around this week, but I will get hold of the raw, unedited version of this match. I may even put it out this week, mate. I might even put that out on Friday. The raw, unedited version of this thing. So everybody can just see it. No editing, nothing. Just, that's it. Untouched. I said something to the ref like, okay, the ref was clearly a little bit like, Dan Hanlon was the ref, and he was clearly a little bit, it's a bit fucking weird, because it was a bit weird, but it was quick, and and neither of them seemed to give that much of a shit. They got back into the groove, and I said, what's your call, ref? And he went, foul, Uncle Jon. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So foul, Uncle Jon. Jon sort of fleetingly questioned it. They go back, they start to pull again. Jon has checked himself, changed his demeanor, changed his direction. Kieran does exactly the same thing again. Goes for it, but Jon doesn't lift his elbow and push off the pad. He tries to force towards the pin, which is fine. Had he not gone towards the pin, I think we'd have had a problem right there, if I'm perfectly honest. And I think the first guy to react to that wouldn't have needed to be me. I think it would have been the Scotsman on the other side of the table. Yeah. And he would have been like, dude, fuck you doing? Yeah. You know what I mean? It would have been a bit of a different thing. But Jon didn't. And Kieran acknowledged that. And we were back in the groove. We were back in the essence of arm wrestling. We had that moment of madness, that weird occurrence, which was a split second, a couple of seconds in a match. That was it. It's gone. Jon apologized and got straight back to his business of trying to actually pin the dude. Didn't mouth off at Kieran again and give him any shit. He was a little insular then. He was a little embarrassed, clearly. And he got back to just trying to pin. His whole demeanor changed. That cockiness went, and it was more like, okay, I'm back to, and he was talking to the refs and just changed him completely. He actually felt weirdly like embarrassed for him a little, and it took his edge off. That. It was quite stark because he'd gone from this, I'm this super bad boy, super entertaining to a bit more like, whoa, let's just have a minute. And you're clearly going through stuff in his own mind, clearly questioning himself. And rightly so, because it was a bit of a dick move. They pull, they go, the match peels open, he drives at the pad, his bloody elbow pops off the front. It's a foul. He tries to recover his position onto the pad, does so, quickly readjusts and sets his elbow back on. Anybody saying that he did it again the second time? No, he didn't. It wasn't even close. The first time, he picked his elbow up and chased after the dude, went straight at him. The second time, he is not doing that. He's pinning down. He's trying to drive to the pad, and Kieran back pressures him up. His elbow, the weight comes off his elbow. It pops off. He goes, tries to get it back on. The foul is called correctly because it's a straight foul. Second foul, which is going to lead to his loss. And Jon says, oh, running foul. No, it's not a running foul, mate. And I think it might have even been Paul Main said something along the lines of like, are you You kidding? Running foul. It's like a massive foul. Like it's a straight foul. A running foul, just to be very clear to everybody, running fouls in Arm Wars are tiny fouls, which in the view of the referee, there is no advantage gained. Now you could say, oh, there's always an advantage gained. Sure, there may be. But what matters here is that the guy who's been fouled upon, the guy who's not fouled, can make a distinction. He can make a decision at that point. Does he want to continue contesting that match or not? And if he doesn't, he can lie down. And if he does, he can carry on. So it gives an opportunity for the match to be a better match, a longer match. That's all it does. It's not this utopia, you know. It doesn't replace straight fouls. They coexist. The straight foul is what John was on there for that second infringement. His elbow came way off. I'm trying to think back, and I'd need to watch the Raw myself. Apologies, but this is a long time ago. You know, I'm trying my best to sort of recollect the whole thing. And the funny thing is, it wasn't, I know this, you won't believe this, right? But on the day, it wasn't, and I hope when I get the Raw from James, it does illustrate this. It wasn't like a big thing for anyone. Now, if it was going to be a big thing for someone, it would have been a big thing for Kieran, wouldn't it? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he's the guy. And Kieran, it wasn't a big thing. Kieran wasn't, I don't want to, again, it's not being patronizing to people or something, but if you're a puller yourself and you kind of know.
You feel the energy of the opponent. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know if the guy really is maliciously trying to hurt me or, you know, it was just...
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Paul, for my brain's failing a little bit here. It's been a long day. I've been working since like 6 a.m. But yeah, exactly that. You feel the let's say we were in a boxing match, and this is kind of weird. So I used to box, you'd be in there, and there's a difference between, you both go in to throw a shot, you come together, and boom, there's a clash of heads, and it's a clash of, and for a moment, you're like, the fuck? And the guy might look across and be like, clash of heads. Or he might be like, you. And then the next time you go in, he tries to stick the nut on you. Now, if he tries to stick the nuts on you again, you'd be like, okay. You know what I mean? Now, this is a distinction. It's a weird thing because the weirdness here, the X factor is, John definitely intended to do that move in the first time. But he didn't really pull it off. And he didn't really go for it with vigor. He did it in a petulant, spiteful, dick way. Not like I'm going to break your arm. He did it in a, you run, I'm going to chase. It was like half-hearted bullshit.
So as far as like force, what you're generating, he's not putting 100% force. It was more of like a 10%, like just more pissed off type, not a malicious hurt.
That. It wasn't a big. There was no. The guy had he had this kind of grip, right? Yeah. Like this, and he pushed at it while. Look, these guys are at a high level of ability, okay? They can both really arm wrestle. They wouldn't be... One of the things that people say, when we did the Savage search recently, what do I need to do to get to Armwars? Okay, underline point one. You need to be a really good puller. If you're not at a really high level of technical skill and versatility, you're not ready yet. That doesn't mean you can't be, but you're not ready yet. You need to be a very good level of technical puller, a very good, solid arm wrestler with a very well-rounded, versatile game to be considered for Armwars. You just do. That's the minimum standard. And 90% of the guys there are minimum national champion, often international, European, or world champion. If we break down that room, you have multiple European and world champions in that room that day. 90% were national. 90% national champions. Multiple world, multiple European champions. You're in some good company. None of those guys, not a single guy in that entire collection of the room was like, whoa, that was like a big thing we saw there. None of them. Not me, not there. Nobody. Nobody was like, oh, that was really bad, really sinister. No one. Yeah, sure, they're all arm wrestlers. And they kind of get it. I'm pretty sure that when they watch the video back, in the same way that all the viewers will, and it's in glorious Technicolor with dramatic commentary telling you about it from the guys that did it themselves. Sure, it looks way worse. Dude, I thought it looked worse. When I watched it, I was like, wow, that looked really bad. James saw that it looked really bad, and he's like, well, that's got to go in. I mean, that's got to go in the story. So he brings attention to it. And when the guys go into the interview room, James will storybook out what he's going to do, and he'll ask him about that. So he says to John, what the fuck is that? Tell me about that. And John's reaction to that is kind of like, oh my God, yeah. That's not good. But John has no option but to tell you what was going through his mind, okay? So he can't say, oh, I didn't try to do that, because he clearly did. And he's clearly, in real time, said to Kieran, you run, I'm going to chase you. And he literally acknowledges, he says, this is going to look really bad on me. Now, then he's got a choice. And he either stays in character, that character that he's committed to try to be more controversial and entertaining, or he doesn't. And you may say he made a mistake and he just told and he stuck to that character. He told the thing in character and said, you know, you're here in the big league, you're going to chase. Now, that's wrong. It's a bit of a mistake, because there isn't really a place for that in the sport of arm wrestling. Now, there will be guys, or maybe there is a sport. I don't know. Is there? There's not in my head. Is that something I do? No. Do I believe John Thompson will ever do that again? No. And not because of this backlash either. Let me be very, very clear on that. Because I spoke to that dude after the fact, and he said to me the day before he pulled the left arm match, which they pull again. And John was kind of very reflective, little emotional, questioning himself, bit confused, bit embarrassed, bit ashamed. And he was trying to articulate, I think, that I fucked up there a bit. And I think I tried too hard. And I had that adrenaline dump thing again. And I said, yeah, mate, you're going so hard to try and be the showman. Maybe you're misunderstanding a little. You don't need to do that hard. You really don't. Just be John Thompson. John's good. Somewhere in the middle ground, there will be an area of comfort for you. Be that guy. And John's like, he's a very considered guy, and he's like, okay, he's nodding and nodding, but you can see it's haunting him. You can see that. And he says, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do things different tomorrow. It's going to be right. Okay. So I'll try and find that, and he's going to do his thing. So tomorrow he goes in and he pulls the left arm. Wow. Fucking wow. That match is amazing. Amazing. And I've seen a lot of arm wrestling matches. Put it this way. I'm not going to ruin it and tell everybody the results and what happens, right? But all I'll tell you is this. Not only did John do what he said he was going to do, and Kieran do, both men, amazing. John did tone it right down. John did come out with a different guy. It wasn't as show. But it was so much more show. It was like John arrived. John really arrived and had a bigger realization around who he is and who he should be. You know what I mean? And it's a travesty that this has happened in the way it has, in a way, because when people see this thing, and you know what? Fuck it, I am going to put the Raw out this week. I'm sorry for our members that it go, but just in this one instance, guys, just for this, I want to let people see the Raw. I want to watch it myself, actually, as well. But we're going to show you, we'll put the Raw out this Saturday instead of the premiere. And you can just see that. Everybody can see it and make your own conclusions. Draw your own conclusions.
And I got to ask you, when is the actual the match going to be released for the left-hand match? Is that this Friday?
Next Friday, mate.
Next Friday.
This week, James, as family... James's sister died, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And James isn't around this week.
Okay.
So that's, yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought a bit then. The left hand match is a magnificent match. Incredible, incredible match. And the room full of arm wrestlers that we had assembled in that room that day, without prompting, without anything, gave those two men, who were at the time laid flat on their backs, gasping for air, a standing ovation, Paul.
Wow.
And I'm not joking. And I have run arm wrestling matches all over the world and attended arm wrestling matches all over the world. And I can count on one hand the amount of times that I've seen that. And this isn't for show, or it was everybody in that room like, yeah, okay, that was ace. Yeah, fair play, that was mega. From that collection of top class pullers. And they were all like, that was a fucking great match right there. The guy, and it was an awakening for John. John came away from there and John was like, you know, wow, okay, I get it. Now I get it. And I was like, that's it, that guy, do that. Do more. Now, for anybody who's saying I want WWE, no, I don't. That's what I want, that. I want you to come and leave nothing. You don't need to come and bravado it or do. If you want to do that, do it. Jeff Hale was magnificent at that. But you don't have to be Jeff Hale. Just be you, but leave it all there. And then tell us what happened. Simple as that. The drama of arm wrestling is already in arm wrestling. You don't need to add some. You don't need to, it doesn't need any more sugar and spice. It's there. Just show them. How many times are you guys that are arm wrestlers, how many times have you arm wrestling fans seen some match at some county fair or something? And it may be a small match, right? Don't mean nothing to anyone, isn't prominent in the world of arm wrestling. It's not Devon Levan, but it's just a match between two guys. But to those guys, it clearly means so much because they die for it. They go balls out to the point where there is no more. And people afterwards are like, that was a great, and you wish with every fibre of your being that match that you just saw had been on a big stage where people could, and you were thinking in your mind as an arm wrestling fan, I wish people could see that just happened there. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want in Armwars. That's what Armwars is all about. That's why. At the start of this thing, you said, who's your favourite frigging arm wrestler?
Yeah.
And I told you about Frode Haugland, even before John Brzenk. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
He's that guy. Frode is that. Frode's quiet. He's like, he don't say that much. He just smiles a lot. But you can't deny him. Do you know what I mean? You can't deny the guy. Because he is the guy that's a millimetre from the pad with a guy jumping on his ass, a world-class puller jumping on his ass, and he's breaking his own teeth with effort, and he brings it all the way and wins. And the whole place who aren't arm wrestling fans are going, oh my God, did you just see that? That's why he's my guy. Because every time I write that man's name on the fucking roster of one of my cards, I know that there's an 85% chance that he's going to do that. There it is. Now, all I would say to people, if you're judging John Thompson, look, I'm not you may think I'm a dick and I'm lying to you, but I promise you I'm not. I am trying to tell you. The irony is I'm trying to tell you the exact fucking truth. This is what actually happened. All these guys are going, I wish I was there. I wish I knew what really happened. Well, as I say, I will put the Raw out on Friday. Why not? Because James ain't here. Why don't we just put the Raw out? So I will put the Raw out on Friday. You can all see. No editing, no nothing. Boom, there it is. Watch it through. Now, I'm just telling you off the top of my head, but I'll bet you see what I'm telling you about. Take this and watch what I've just told you and see if you can spot what I'm talking about.
I've already seen it, brother. I did this. I listened to everybody. I heard both sides of the story, and then I watched the video again. And with all that context behind it, you could see, just like you were saying, it happened a split second. It was so quick. Nobody even batted an eye. Nobody even realized. The only one that I did see was the referee was a little confused. He saw that move and he just
It was
he
like,
wasn't sure what the hell just happened. You know.
I must admit, mate, I've been doing this a long time, and people will say, okay, this kind of move needs stamping out of arm wrestling. There's no place in my entire time in arm wrestling. I have not seen that many times. I mean, I really haven't. We once had a similar thing with Glenn Benson on Cobra Rhodes. Similar. The nearest that I've seen to that was Herman Stevens and Withers.
I was just about to say that. I was at the ROTN in Texas, and I remember that happening.
And that was weird.
Yeah.
Now, here's one for you. Herman Stevens, great dude. Good dude. Magnificent arm wrestler. There was no camera. People have said, oh, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Armwars over-dramatizing it. And what bullshit. We don't influence the guys. We don't tell the guys what to do. We say, look, you do you. And ironically, this is the irony of this thing, right? We always say to people, look, we've got the square in the air. So say somebody contests something. If Kieran Morrison had said, that motherfucker tried to break my arm, then tried to, I want to go, I want to see that. That's an unsportsmanly conduct. Because we do have unsportsmanly conduct. Okay, that is in there. But it's not for that. It's for if you punch a guy in the face, or you do some stupid shit, or you're aggressive to a ref, then you're gone. You're DQ'd.
So let me ask you, Neil, from that, what goes on from here on in? Say another athlete comes in and does the exact same move, knowing everything we just went through. How do you handle this now?
So I went on the other night. Pradeep was on a show, and he was telling people and thanking everybody for having his back, and they were all patting each other on the back for all this stuff. Now, the funny thing is, they won't know. We've been talking about this beforehand. Not like weeks before, like as soon as people started to react. Forget Pradeep's involved. I'm not knocking Pradeep, but we had been talking about this from the show that we put together and storybooked in that exact way before Pradeep picked up on it, which was like a day later. Because as soon as we put this thing out, the comments were going, which is why Pradeep picked up on it. Pradeep, he's packing himself on the back like, oh, we created it. Well, actually, brother, you didn't. You definitely whipped up a storm, in my opinion, in a bit of a weird way. That's up to you. Each answer to your own. But you whipped up a storm in a bit of a strange way. There it is. What I'm going to say is that he is right in that there is no place in the sport for that. I hate that kind of move. Years ago, at the World Arm Wrestling Federation, I lobbied against the fact that I was one of the guys, if not, I'm going to say the guy, who was most instrumental about getting if you just push a guy, forget dangerous position, if you just push a guy at a guy and their elbow goes off the back, the foul should be on you. Prior to that, the rule was it's your responsibility to keep your elbow on the pad. I happened to be arm wrestling against a guy the prior year. I bust his ass in a top rope. He's stronger than me and he's holding me up with a flat wrist, but I know I'm going to win. And he pushes me off the back of the pad. And I get the foul. And I'm like, the fight pushed me off the back of the pad. He trying to win. He just pushed me off the back of the pad. I get the foul. We go again. Boom. I whack him over again. Again, I'm top rolling, skating my elbow. Boom. He pushes me off the back again. I'm incensed. It's the World Championships. I've trained all year. I'm one of the highest ranked guys in the world. I feel I'm going to go on and do really well. And this guy's just fouled my ass out and I'm in the B-side. So I am really pissed. So I'm also representative of Great Britain at the Congress. And when it comes next year at the Congress, it's like, has anybody got any things that they want to raise? Hell yes. Do I appear shy? So I'm like, yeah, I got one for you. let's just have a look at this. Let's look about this rule. So we go, we talk about it. And a lot of the guys in the room are like, yeah, Neil's right on that. We, as arm wrestlers, we're saying that needs changing. And we change it, and the rule has stayed. If you push a guy, it's on you. But it's on you as a foul. Now, this is a different thing because this is more towards unsportsmanley conduct because John lifted his arm way up off the pad and pushed out the guy. I mean, I know Evan Burgoyne did a show where he said, oh, John did exactly what he was supposed to do. No, bullshit. He didn't. He just didn't. That's a dick move and a foul, and that's it. He didn't keep his elbow on the pad and push towards him. If he'd kept his elbow down and gone to pin him with his elbow on the pad, yeah, fair enough, you may have an argument. But not lifting your elbow up and chasing the guy. That is not, no. You know what I mean? Come on. No. Even John was seconds after. John himself was like, oh my God, no.
I realized, yeah.
John Thompson knew. He was immediately aware that, okay, that was a dick move. What the fuck was that? When James questioned him, he says in the film, it's going to look really bad on me. You're like, what? And he's already done his embarrassment at that point. So he's trying to stick in character, trying to be his guy. Even he knew it was a dick move. It was a dick move. Was it something that he should be banned for? Shut the fuck up. No, shut the fuck up with that nonsense. Of course he shouldn't. He's not hit him in the face with a ball-peen hammer. He's pushed at the guy in a petulant, stupid way, in a dick move, and he deserves punishing for that. We don't deserve banning for life. That is not.
What do you think is appropriate punishment for that? That's what we're just, I think a lot of the fans that are like all outraged and all, they just want that answer.
Yeah, and I get that. And they're probably frustrated and they're saying, well, you're the guy in Armwars, you tell us. Fair call. Okay, that is true. And prior to Pradeep getting on this, we'd already been discussing, really, that's like a different animal. That's like a bit unsportsmanlike. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the rules. Okay, we're going to change. And I thought about that, and then it came up in the Pradeep thing. Again, same thing. And when I went on the Pradeep show, before Pradeep, look at the show. Go on.
I actually was listening live when you guys when you got on.
Just so you know, Pradeep, we're already looked at this because he said something about the, guys are saying that you're brushing it under the rug. And I said, that's ridiculous, though, because we made the film. You guys are aware that we made that film and we drew attention to that. And one of the reasons we drew attention to that is because it's weird. It's like a bit of a weird sow in some strange corner thing. It's between two areas. So we view that as a completely different thing because the elbow was taken off the pad and intentionally moved towards your opponent. So it's being put into a different environment so that no arm wrestler has any excuse or grounds to do it. So it's not even in their conscious, and we're going to bring it to them as part of the briefing, that if you do this, if you pick your elbow off the pad or any similar move to that, where you step outside of the rules and perform a move which is outside of the existing fair rules of the sport and possesses the risk of injuring your opponent or making it so that they cannot continue competing at their correct level, you will automatically lose that round. And if you injure them, you will lose that match instantly. It's done. Go the comb. And that's not to be a dick or to be as petulant back. It's just to deter anyone from doing that again and take it out of their mindset. So there's no confusion for that. Look, we're dealing with a combat sport here. It is people may or may not agree with that statement, but having done both, I can tell you there's a lot of similarities. All right.
Oh, bro, it's a combat sport, and I have 2 surgeries on my arm, bro, to prove that
there
right
is
there.
Doubt about it. A lot of guys that come to our sport are from the combat sport and strength sport background. It crosses the boundaries between the two. But there is some guys in there that are hot-headed. Who can I give you a good example of? And let me tell you this, right? Let's make a distinction now. Kieran Morrison didn't react to that, and it was a tiny thing. Some guys, if you'd done that, whether he was in character, out of character, acting, playing, tongue-in-cheek, or whatever, whenever you come to an arm wrestling table, you have to decide in your mind, who's the dude, who is the dude that I'm arm wrestling against, and what are his boundaries? The same as you might if you were just having a drink with a guy, and if it's some guy that you know well and you're great with, you can tell jokes about his wife and his mom. And then there's that other guy that you don't make that joke. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, as an adult male or anyone in life, it is a really good lesson early to try to understand what those lines are and what that guy is, because there's a consequence. Let's say we're talking about a young prime enigma of rage, Engin Terzi. Dude, let me tell you right now, if you'd have gone up to a 65 or 70 kilo Engin Terzi, and under any circumstances whatsoever, you had pushed that guy's arm back into an awkward shape, which made him jump back, and get ready. Guard your king grill.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that now. I may have reacted the same. I would like to think that I would have the presence of mind not to. But I will tell you right now, Engin Terzi would have been on you like a spider monkey, man. I'm telling you now. No doubt about it. No. There it is. I mean, you'd have to ask Engin, but I'm bloody sure he would have attacked you where you stood.
I agree.
So, you gotta make those distinctions yourself. And John was smart enough to make that distinction. He thought, okay, this is the scenario. Kieran kind of gets what I'm doing. I'm going to do this petulant move. Not really hard, not really committed, but I'm going to do it to build up this I'm a dick character. Boom, there it is. And I'm going to shout some abuse and say, you run, I'll follow you. And then he is going to not be exactly on script with that one. He's going to be like, I'm not sure I am with that one. That was a bit of a dick move. And then immediately I'm going to be embarrassed and be like, okay, yeah, probably that was a dick move. Shouldn't have done that. And he retracted into himself, and different match from there on. To his benefit, actually. I know he lost the match, but it led him on a journey over the next 7 or 8 hours before they pulled again, where the guy that he was at that point that did that in seeking to try to entertain the crowd, and that's what he was doing. I believe, you'd have to ask John, but I believe that's what it was. Speaking to John in the house, that very much seemed what he was doing. Seemed like he fucked it up. And he realized he had, and he was a bit embarrassed and a bit ashamed. And that's what he told me he was. Guy the next day, for the left arm, different bloke. After the left-hand match, I can categorically tell you that in the house after that, he was buzzing his ears off, happy as hell. Said, that is the best match of my life and of my arm wrestling career. If you don't, this was the funny thing, if you don't mind, Neil, I may start again. And I said, mate, it's nothing to do with me. You're you. And he just went, I think these guys may feel like there's a requirement for some subservience here. No, mate. I don't bite. I'm not your dad. I'm just a bloke who's into arm wrestling like you are. And whenever you got a shot to come over, if I say, I'll tell you what, Paul, you're pulling an Armwars and you come over and you're going to do your thing, do your thing. There's a couple of guys that I looking at this Savage search. And when those are announced, you'll see, I will stand by what I say, because you'll see the guys that are going to make it. Might not be the guys you think are going to make it. Might not be. And you might be like, oh, but that guy's not WWE. What the fuck? No. But if you watch his highlight reel, you'll see that those matches that those guys are in, he's carried out on a shield. You know what I mean? Yeah. On there, nothing left. Love that guy. That can do that in 5 techniques. Balls to the wall. If you're that guy, I probably love you. I probably think you're ace. You know, on that whole John thing, God knows how that's going to go.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious. How do you think this is gonna to pan out for Uncle John now? Does he get his redemption when you air this next match with the left hand,
I
or is
don't know, mate. I think there's this. I think there's a perception amongst some of the viewing public that they think there's like this. I mean, I've read all kinds of bullshit. I've heard people think like, oh, there's some mass conspiracy where these guys are talking to each other and trying to make light of this just because Uncle John's in the inner circle and all
all
this stuff.
the YouTube circle, as they say?
Yeah,
You know,
it's garbage. It's just, I mean, Pradeep's done a lot towards that. He's gone towards this, like, oh, this is what, and it's just not right. Mate, unfortunately, it's never happened.
well,
In your
Neil,
mind,
this
but
is
it
what
hasn't.
I wanna chime in on this whole situation, and this is just in general to the cancel culture, brother. We got to put an end to this garbage, man.
I
You
know it's
know,
bullshit.
if we all looked at everybody with a magnifying glass, we're all going to find something wrong. We're going to find a mistake they made and all that. But, bro, we're all a community. We're all here trying to grow the sport. And the one thing that I want to say is Uncle John is one of the guys that is putting this as a full-time job. He is promoting this. He is building arm wrestling. You know, he's not a selfish person. It's not all just about Uncle John. It's about building the sport. So
Hmm.
for a guy that's been doing so much work for couple years now building this YouTube and just all this great content to help our sport grow, he makes one mistake and now everybody just wants him thrown out. They want him done with arm wrestling and all. And I don't believe in this cancel culture, bro. I think that's where everything is just going off with our whole world, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy, mate. There's a lot of frustration in the world, and I get it that people are passionate. And you know what? I love that they are.
yeah,
But you've got to, for a moment, take a breath and just think, wait a minute, let me just look behind this. Is this, am I actually missing something, or are these guys telling me the truth?
yeah,
But what I'm telling you is this. Did John do a dick move? Yeah, he did.
yes.
Is John a dick? No. No, he really isn't. He just isn't. If you, I don't care who you are, you meet John. John is a great bloke. He's like
Yeah.
a really nice lad.
And
He's a genuinely nice, helpful, down to earth, friggin' loves the sport of arm wrestling. He's a really good guy. He will go out of his way to try and help people. He's a good, but I'm not like trying to paint him as a saint. I
no,
don't
no,
have to.
Neil, everything you're saying is 100%. He was just at my event in Tulsa, brother, and I got to see exactly what you're saying. There's two different people here. We have Uncle John, the character, who we all see on the podcast and all that. Great guy and all. And then you got John Thompson. And when you see John Thompson in person, I mean, such a wholesome, humble guy, always trying to help. He was trying to do anything he could to help me out through this great event I did in Tulsa and all. So I just wanted encourage everybody instead of just judging people so quick, you know, really get to know this guy. You know, like once you get to know him, you'll know that he's not a malicious guy. He's not someone that's going to go and try breaking somebody's arm. Yes, he
No.
did make a dickhead move. That is unacceptable. And what I like about this whole, you know, circumstance that played out is now you have altered the arm wars rules, and you know we're progressing. We're seeing what some problems that occur, and now we're addressing them. We're not sweeping them under the rug. You're taking charge of this. You're saying we are now going to adjust the rules so that this doesn't happen again. And that's where I am happy about this. You know, regardless of what side you're on, you know, if you believe Uncle John should be thrown out or not, we are progressing. You know, now other organizers and promoters, they could plan this into the rules. So this is a situation that if it occurs again, we all know how we will handle it. So, you know, that goes with any sport progressing and building up. So something that needed to be done. And I think we should all just fall back a little. Let's wait till this next video comes out, you know, the left-hand match and all. You guys all said it's going to show a lot of John Thompson, the real John Thompson, come out. And let's just not judge so much, and let's just give this guy another chance, bro. You know, because
You got to
considering
remember,
the
this was
and
only
one
John.
one last point, bro, is considering everybody that was there didn't see a problem,
No,
including the person that had it done to him. That he
correct.
went and made a statement right after that saying he has no ill will towards John Thompson. So I
Yeah.
mean, all that's got to be in context. You know, we all gotta understand. Everybody that was there doesn't have a problem with it. It's only the people that are seeing it after, weren't actually there, didn't know all the context going behind.
They don't know the context, and also they don't, in many cases, appreciate the nuance of it. I mean, I had a guy the other day who's clearly a highly intelligent lad, clearly understands a lot of stuff, and he's got his field. But he says, "You act like these guys don't have arms and they don't know, what the situation is." No, I'm not acting like they don't have arms and they don't know what the situation is. What I'm telling you is that these guys are at a level of skill and proficiency in the sport of arm wrestling where the way that they shape their body and the awareness that they have of arm wrestling and what is coming at them is not the guy on the street. That's not these guys. They're really proficient arm wrestlers, and their reaction is already there. It's already mind mapped. They're moving in a way that if you're not a high-level arm wrestler, you don't move. You don't do that. That's why you're not that guy. It is. When I see Tony Bow ride his trials motorcycle, when I see Tiger Woods hit a golf ball, I might think I'm pretty good at riding a motorcycle. I can't do what that dude does. Why I can't is because my body shape and position and anticipation and ability to be ready for the next move is nowhere near that level. And you've got to be aware that the significance of what you saw there is diminished greatly by the fact that the punch that is thrown by Uncle John is already being ridden. It's being ridden. Thank God it is, but it is. And that's the reason why it wasn't that significant. And that's the reason why it's not brushing anything under the rug or downplaying it. That's the truth.
Yeah. Was
there going to be a broken arm in that scenario? Actually, no. Very unlikely. For some of the nuance, some of the reasons that I've extolled in this interview, the grip was super irregular. The guy was already running at speed. If you watch it back, you will see that John is forced to increase his speed to try and catch Kieran, who's getting the out of the way, as I would have done. As soon as Kieran feels that risk, he's gone. So John chases after his ass, which is a dick move, but he had to do it fast, and he still couldn't really get it. Yeah. And he didn't really commit hard to getting him. It was a half-assed fuck you move for a moment, which he immediately appreciated as being a dickhead move.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Now, the fact that Kieran didn't react really bad is because it didn't really feature on his spectrum that bad. It was a bit of a look like, what the fuck's that? He figured, okay, John gets it. We're back on track. And the very next round, John resets and changed his shape. And Kieran was like, yeah, okay. Guy knows he did a dick move. He's reset. We're back on. Trust me now. I know Kieran Morrison as well. Very well. And if that had not been the case, you would have quickly found out that Kieran Morrison is no shrinking violet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so would John. In no uncertain terms. He would have realized, okay, that may have been a bad move for a lot of reasons. Then we'd have been somewhere else. But we weren't. Thank God.
Thank God.
But that's on us. Or it's not just on Armwars. It's we've done it. It's done. It's on, I hope, all arm wrestling spots that nuance, spots the fact that there's a hole there. That at the moment, we're not sure where that falls under. Does it fall under this? Or does it fall under this? Let's clearly, distinctly apportion where it falls under. Let's address it and show people where it is. That's what we're going to do. And I should shut the up, bore people to death. It's already been talked about too much. The only thing I would finish on with that is Uncle John rocks. He's a good dude. Cut him some slack.
I 100% agree, and I encourage everybody, give him another chance. Definitely do. Well, with that, Neil, I want to thank you so much for coming on, brother. It was a pleasure kicking it with you, man, and just hearing all the great stories and all. And just keep doing what you're doing, brother. We really appreciate it. All Armwars and all the great promotions you're doing, and, it's definitely appreciated.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for inviting me on the show. Thanks for giving me the time to speak. The one thing I would say, John, mate, if you're watching this, the only thing I would say to John is, I know John is the real John Thompson is not an extremely confident guy. He has some issues with anxiety and things like that. But don't be frightened to just face into it a little bit, John. People will understand if you come on and just, I would maybe talk about it a little bit. I'm happy to assist you with that if you need to, dude. I hope you come back and I hope you're okay to talk about it. If you want to do that on a show and I'll come on with you, whatever you need to do in that respect, or, you know, you're a big lad, you make your own decisions, but don't face into it a bit, mate. You've not done that much wrong, buddy. You made a mistake, and that's it. I also want to say, whether you agree with what I'm saying, disagree with what I'm saying, that's cool. To everybody who's tuning into the sport of arm wrestling generally, thank you. Please keep doing it. We do. I know we may have different opinion on this. World would be a boring place if everybody agreed on everything. So that's ace. Keep that talk going. The passion and enthusiasm that you guys show for the sport is great. Keep doing what you're doing. And to all the people that are out there pushing the sport forward, thank you. Thank you to everybody who tunes in and checks out the Armwars shows. We will try and do our very best to bring you entertaining matches. Yeah, appreciate it. And all the best to you and your families, guys. Stay safe, stay stoic.
Thank you, guys. If you guys haven't already, please get over to Neil's channels, his Armwars channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. We got amazing matches coming up. Just like he said, he's going to be putting out the raw footage of the Uncle John match, and he's also going to be putting out the left-hand match, which we all want.